Welcome to Mythos AI, your source for Cliff's Notes on complex subjects. Join Anna and Phil for yet another engaging conversation.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into something I think is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Artificial General Intelligence, or AGI as the cool kids call it.
Right.
And, we're all interacting with AI every day now. I mean, your social feeds, they're curated with AI, recommendations, all that.
Absolutely.
But that's AI kind of dipping its toes in the shallow end, right?
Right.
AGI, that's the deep end of the pool. We're talking about AI that doesn't just recognize patterns, it understands, it learns.
Yeah. It can solve problems.
Yeah, like we do. And that's what we're looking at today. Specifically, we're going through this article, Scale's All You Need, Part 2, The Journey to AGI by Kim Isenberg.
Great article.
Yeah, he lays out this vision of AGI that's, it's expert problem solving, self-learning, able to work across all kinds of data, text, images, you name it, even making its own decisions autonomously. Autonomously, exactly. So, it wasn't that long ago that we were struggling to get AI to string together a few coherent sentences, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And now we've got these models that are writing screenplays, composing music.
Having debates. It's amazing.
Yeah. And Isenberg actually takes us through that evolution, which I found really interesting. Like, remember the Enneagram models?
Oh, yeah.
Very basic.
From the early days.
Yeah, like that predictive text on your phone. Good for a laugh.
Right.
But
yeah.
Not exactly Tolstoy.
No, not quite. They were working with, like you said, very limited information.
Right, right. And then came the RNNs, the recurrent neural networks, and they were a step up, right?
Yeah.
Because they could actually use information from earlier parts of a text.
Yeah, like remembering the beginning of a sentence.
Exactly, like how we follow a story.
Context, yeah.
But even RNNs, they had their limits. It's
Right.
like, if you tried to remember a whole conversation, you'd probably start forgetting some details, mixing things up.
Absolutely.
Not the sharpest tool in the shed, as they say.
Right.
And then 2017 happens, boom, the transformer model.
Game changer.
Game changer. Like, imagine, instead of reading a book word by word, you could just instantly grasp the meaning of a whole page all at once.
Powerful.
That's the attention mechanism. It's what made Transformers revolutionary.
Yeah, it's like going from a dial-up modem to high-speed internet, just like that.
Exactly. And suddenly, we go from barely stringing sentences together to GPT-3.
Right. GPT-3.
The rock star of AI writes you a screenplay, composes music, even debates philosophy.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is. And all these successors, they're all built on that 2017 Transformer breakthrough.
Yeah, it's the foundation.
Which leads to a really interesting question. If these AIs are getting so good at mimicking us, how do we even measure their intelligence?
Right. How do we know how smart they really are?
Exactly. For a long time, it was all about the Turing Test, right?
Right, the classic test.
You're having a conversation. You don't know if it's a human or a machine. If the machine fools you, it passes.
Right. Clever idea back in 1950.
Yeah, for 1950. But now, with AI like GPT-3,
It's a different ballgame.
totally. It's like saying a parrot can hold a conversation because it can mimic human speech.
Yeah, good analogy.
We're way past that now.
We need a new measuring stick.
Exactly. Like using a sundial to time a marathon, it's just not going to cut it.
Exactly. We need something more sophisticated.
Yes. We need to look at things like, can an AI compose a symphony that's not just good, but truly original?
Right, like creativity.
That's where the Lovelace 2.0 test comes in, right?
Exactly.
Or how about common sense reasoning? The Winograd Schema Challenge, that tests an AI's ability to understand context, something we do naturally, but it's surprisingly hard for machines.
It is, yeah.
So we're getting better at judging AI, but the big question is, how do we actually get to AGI? How do we go from these impressive but ultimately limited models to something truly groundbreaking?
The million-dollar question.
Right. And one of the loudest voices right now is saying scale's all you need, more data, bigger models, faster processing, just keep pushing those boundaries, and eventually, bam, AGI.
It's a compelling argument.
It is. And it's attracting some big names. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, he's all in. He even predicted superintelligence within a few thousand days.
Wow.
Not just smarter AI that surpasses human intelligence.
And potentially very soon. That's a bold statement.
It is. And it's not just him. Mark Zuckerberg, he's also betting big on scale. His idea is just throw more computing power at it, specifically GPUs.
The workhorses of AI?
Exactly. Of course, even Zuckerberg admits there might be a limit to how far you can push that approach.
Right. There's always a limit.
But for now, it's all about that bigger is better mentality. So it's more horsepower for the AI engine, basically.
In a nutshell, yeah. But it's not just about speed, right?
Yeah.
It's about complexity, creativity, the ability to learn and adapt.
It is. Are there any predictions out there about when we might actually see the next big leap in AI capability?
Well, Leopold Aschenbrenner, he's a leading researcher in the field, and he thinks we're on the verge of another major breakthrough.
Oh, like what kind of breakthrough?
Something as significant as the jump from, say, GPT-2 to GPT-4.
Wow, and remember how big of a deal that was.
Exactly. And he believes we'll see this within the next few years just by continuing to scale up these AI models.
So a lot of excitement, a lot of bold predictions.
Yeah, definitely a lot of buzz.
But is everyone convinced? I mean, building and running these massive AI models, that's going to come with its own challenges, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about building bigger models. It's about sustainability, access.
What do you mean?
Well, as these models grow, so does their appetite for energy. Think massive server farms running 24/7, consuming enough electricity to power a small city.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that.
That's the reality of training these AI behemoths.
It makes you wonder if only a few companies, or governments even, can afford to build and maintain these super powerful AIs, what happens to everyone else?
That's a key question. Does access to this potentially world-changing technology become a luxury?
Right, a luxury that only a select few can afford.
Exactly. And if that happens, who gets to control these powerful AI tools? Who gets to say how they're used and who benefits?
That's a big question.
It is, and it's one we need to be asking right now.
We're just scratching the surface here. But before we get lost in the ethical dilemmas, there's another important counterpoint to this scale is all you need argument that we need to address. Because believe it or not, not everyone is convinced that bigger is always better when it comes to AGI.
Oh, interesting. You mean there are other ways to approach it, other paths to that human-like intelligence?
Exactly, and that's what we're going to be diving into next. Well, think about it. We don't become, brilliant just by cramming our brains with information. There's got to be something more, right? Like that aha
Moment. Spark.
Yes, when you truly grasp a concept, it's the difference between just memorizing a bunch of facts and actually understanding the connections between them.
Absolutely, like learning to ride a bike.
Exactly.
You can read all the books, but until you actually get on and
you feel it.
Find that balance, it's not the same.
And some experts argue that that's what AI is missing, that kind of bike riding moment to really reach AGI.
That intuitive leap.
Exactly. And that's where some researchers like Naila Murray over at Meta, she's their head of AI, they challenge this whole scale is all you need thing.
Interesting.
They say just building bigger models, it might not be enough.
Because our brains aren't just giant data sets, right? We learn through experience, through intuition, even emotions.
And how do you teach a machine to feel, to understand, the nuances of human interaction?
Exactly. Those unspoken roles, the things even we humans struggle with sometimes.
Right. It's not something you can just program into an algorithm.
Not easily, anyway. And that takes us back to Isenberg's article and those bottlenecks he talks about on the road to AGI, like figuring out how to go beyond just mimicking human language, to actually replicating the thought processes underneath.
It's like we've built this car that looks and sounds exactly like a horse-drawn carriage.
I like this analogy.
But under the hood,
it's
still just an engine and gears.
We haven't quite figured out the horse yet.
Exactly. We haven't cracked the code of the horse.
And cracking the code of the human brain?
Oh, man.
That's a whole other level.
It's like we're trying to recreate the Mona Lisa by just analyzing the chemical composition of the paint.
Interesting.
It tells you something.
It does.
But it doesn't tell you
the whole story.
The magic. And that's what I find so fascinating about this whole AGI thing. We're not just building smarter machines. We're trying to unravel the mysteries of our own minds.
Absolutely. It's a reflection, isn't it?
It really is. And speaking of mysteries, Isenberg also touches on another crucial aspect here, making AGI accessible.
Right, because even if we crack it, what good is it if only a select few have access to it?
Exactly. And we talked about the potential benefits.
They'll solve hands-on problems.
But what happens if it's just concentrated in the hands of a few powerful companies, governments?
It could exacerbate existing inequalities.
Exactly. And Isenberg, he seems to be, envisioning this future where AGI is democratized.
I like that.
Where everyone benefits regardless of, their background, their resources.
A world where anyone, anywhere, could access the power of AGI to solve problems, to create, to learn.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
The possibilities are pretty much endless. But getting there,
Yeah.
that's not going to be easy.
No, it'll be a long road.
We're talking about rethinking our education system's economic models.
Our whole understanding of what it means to be human in a world where machines are thinking alongside us.
Right. And it raises the stakes of this whole scale debate, right?
How so?
Well, if achieving AGI really comes down to who has the most powerful computers, the most data,
Right.
how do we prevent those resources from being hoarded by just a few?
It's a tightrope walk. We need to encourage innovation, but also ensure ethical and responsible development.
With safeguards.
Absolutely. And those conversations need to happen now, not after the fact.
Right. You can't put the genie back in the bottle once it's out.
Exactly. It's like that old saying, better to have a map before you enter the jungle.
It really is. It's like we're building this rocket ship to get to the stars,
Yeah.
but we're still arguing about what kind of fuel to use.
Right.
And all the while making sure we don't, accidentally launch ourselves into the sun.
Right. There are stakes.
Big time. But that's, I think, what makes this whole AGI conversation so important. It's not just about the tech. It's about, us, who we are.
What kind of future we're building.
Exactly. And that future, it's looking more and more like science fiction every day.
It really...
I mean, we talk about the good stuff, right? Solving those big problems, pushing the limits of human knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when these machines, they surpass us? What happens when we're not the smartest kids on the block anymore?
That's the big question, isn't it? A little unsettling.
It is a little bit.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to this idea of scale.
Okay.
If AGI really does come down to, who has the most data, the most powerful computers, then whoever controls those resources, that's
a lot of power.
It's everything, right?
Imagine a world where that kind of power, the power to potentially outthink us, is in the hands of just a few.
A few corporations, governments, it's a bit unnerving.
What happens to our privacy, our autonomy?
Yeah, our freedom.
Exactly. And it makes Isenberg's point about democratizing AGI even more crucial.
Right, making sure it's not
a tool for the few.
It's for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the real potential of AGI, it's not just about making our lives easier, it's about...
unlocking our potential. I like that.
As a species.
Yeah.
Imagine AGI helping us tackle climate change, cure diseases, even bridge the divides between us.
Wow, that's a powerful vision.
It is. But to get there, we need to move beyond the hype, beyond the fear even, and start talking seriously about the ethics of all this.
It's about responsibility.
About what it means to be human in a world where machines are thinking right alongside us.
And those conversations, we got to have them now.
Now's the time, not later.
Not when it's too late.
Exactly. Like we were saying, better a map before the jungle.
So true. And that's what we've tried to do today. Give you a little bit of a map for this wild world of AGI.
It's a fascinating field.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just, scratched the surface, looked at the history, the challenges, the big questions that, frankly, are going to shape the future.
Because it's not predetermined, is it? This future.
Yeah.
It's something we're creating through the choices we make, the questions we ask.
It's a future worth fighting for, one where, technology serves us, not the other way around.
Absolutely. So keep asking those questions, everyone. Stay curious.
Keep diving deep. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Mythos AI. Stay tuned for more concise insights. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe for future episodes.